Yo, welcome to the Hoop Objective Podcast with your boy Armani. Bro, yesterday was crazy, bro. It was a few crazy games yesterday. We had 3 playoff games yesterday, and I don't want to waste no time, so let's get straight into it. So, bro, yesterday was crazy. Let's go ahead and get into this game recap. The Grizzlies beat the Wolves 104-95, which if you watched that game and if you was on Twitter during that game, bro, that game was super interesting. Desmond Bane had 26.7 and he made 7 threes. Cat ended up choking, bro. Absolute choke job, bro. He had 8 points and 5 rebounds. And he's supposed to be the best player on that team, you know what I mean? And just complete collapse. Dallas beats Utah 126-118. Off of Jalen Brunson's 31 points and Dinwiddie's game-sealing, 3 when he did that little, and made the 3 to seal the win. The Jazz, I wouldn't consider it a collapse because the game was, pretty back and forth the whole time, or not really, because towards the second half, Dallas was in control of it, but it was a collapse in terms of Luka isn't even playing, and y'all can't take control of the series without their best player. Like that makes no sense. But we'll get into that more a little later. The Warriors beat Denver 118-113 off of, Curry, Poole, and Thompson. They combined for 80 points. And Jokic had 37 points, 18 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Reigning MVP, most likely he's going to be the back-to-back MVP based off of, the way the voting is going so far and the advanced analytics and, things of that nature. But yeah, man, that's a recap for each of them games. Now y'all know what happened yesterday, and I want to get deeper into each one. Starting with the Wolves and Grizzlies game, which, bro, like I can't even quantify how bad of a choke job that was for the Wolves. They had 2, not 1. They had 2 20-point leads, bro. They were winning by 26. I believe in the second quarter they were up by 26, and going into in the third quarter they were up by 20, bro. They blew both leads, bro. The Grizzlies had a 26-0 run, and then they had a I think it was a 15-0 run or 16-0 run, something like that. But it's like bro, if you watch the game, like the first half, the Timberwolves had control. They had control until, going towards the end of the second quarter. They had control of the game, but like I said yesterday, and like if y'all seen it, I'm sure y'all seen it, Charles Barkley emphasizing that the Timberwolves are the dumbest team in the playoffs. They're the dumbest team in the playoffs, and it's not only because of inexperience. Because inexperience, a lot of young teams are inexperienced. The Grizzlies are inexperienced. But that doesn't give you the excuse of, having a meltdown like that. But I don't even know where to start, bro. It's like, my thing is okay, so here's who I blame the most. This is the first person who you got to give blame to, and that's Chris Finch. Chris Finch, the Timberwolves coach. I don't know if you guys know much about him, but Chris Finch he just got an extension. He just got his money because he took the Timberwolves back to the playoffs since 2018 was the last time they were in the playoffs. But that was with Jimmy, and y'all know how that went. So this is their first time legit in the playoffs in a while. And Chris Finch got his extension, which he deserves. I can say he deserves that. But the problem with Chris Finch is he lets this young team make excuses that they shouldn't be making. Like bro, for example, if y'all watch a game yesterday, y'all seen Pat Beverly shot. Pat Beverly was shooting great. He was shooting amazing in the first half. And going into the end of the second quarter and the second half, he kept shooting those shots and he wasn't making them as much, and he just kept shooting them. And Beverly, Beverly's good, but Beverly's not good enough to be shooting those shots. The excessive threes. Honestly, the whole team was shooting excessive threes. It wasn't even just Patrick Beverly. That whole team was shooting excessive threes. But the inability, to call a timeout while the Grizzlies were making a run like that, and the inability to make in-game adjustments, bro, it doesn't look good on Chris Finch. It doesn't look good on him, and especially with a young team. I would think that you would, when you see going wrong, when you see things going wrong, you would call a timeout, and especially with that young team you have, I would think that you would call a timeout, especially with having that big lead, and you see the Grizzlies slowly chipping away at that lead, bro, and you didn't call a timeout. You didn't stop it. You didn't think to make an adjustment or calm down those young guys or whatever the case may be. That was crazy to me, bro. That was crazy to me. But it's another thing too, though. It's Cat is not a good playoff player. In the regular season, right? Cat is an amazing player. He's a self-proclaimed, greatest big man shooter of all time, and it's I could see why he would say that, and I wasn't. And unlike most people who of course, Dirk is the greatest big man shooter of all time, but I wasn't mad at him for thinking that, especially considering the sheer volume that he's shooting with, and he's efficient when it comes to it. He has the post moves, not as great defensively, but that's not his game. His game is the post, post and the 3-point shooting. So, and Cat is really good at that. He's good at that when it comes to the regular season. He's very consistent when it comes to the regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs in his career so far, he has not been good. Like I said in yesterday's episode, I vividly remember watching Cat in 2018 versus the Rockets, and his matchup was Clint Capella, and Clint Capella killed him. Clint Capella is not supposed to kill you if you're Karl-Anthony Towns. As talented as Karl-Anthony Towns is, he should not be killed by Clint. He shouldn't have been killed by Clint Capella. And I thought that back in the day, 4 years ago. That wasn't supposed to happen. And I'm starting to see the same thing, but not in the same way. It's not a specific matchup that Karl-Anthony Towns is getting destroyed by, but it's more so him being in his own head or him not being aggressive enough. It's not anything, honestly, it's not anything the Grizzlies are doing to really stop Karl-Anthony Towns, but it's Karl-Anthony Towns stopping himself. He only shot 4 shots yesterday, and he's supposed to be the best player on that team. In my opinion, it's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is the best player on that team, in my opinion. But Cat, that's supposed to be Karl-Anthony Towns' team. That's supposed to be his team. And he's just not doing it, bro. He's not aggressive. I know if y'all seen that short, that TNT show of him saying, "Oh yeah, we're in Minnesota. We're in Minnesota now. Oh, we seen them when it came to, we seen them when they were at home, but let's see what's going to happen in Minnesota when they were up by 26. And they blew it, bro. He spoke too soon. And y'all destroyed the NBA community. Y'all destroyed him, bro. Y'all destroyed him for that, which rightfully so. Bro, the game isn't over. And another person we gotta hold accountable too. That nobody. Well, no, y'all. Some of y'all did hold him accountable, but I want to hold him accountable right now. Is Legend of Winning. I know if y'all in the NBA community, y'all know who Legend of Winning is. Y'all watch Legend of Winning, and he tweeted during the game that the Grizzlies are fakers, and I didn't necessarily. I looked at that tweet and I thought about it. I'm not necessarily coming at him from the standpoint of the Grizzlies aren't fakers, because they may be fakers. Who knows? The series isn't over. The game isn't over. But especially him being one of the good, the good basketball minds in the NBA community. Legend of Winning should have knew that you should have waited till the game was over. You should wait later into the series to start declaring teams as fakers or whatever the case may be. He did that a little early. He pulled a little Karl Anthony Towns, and then after the game, he comes back saying, that was a good comeback by the Grizzlies, and everyone's like, bro, didn't you just say they were fakers? Like, you can't turn around and come back and say that was a good run by the Grizzlies, good game, guys, but what, 20-30 minutes before that, calling them fakers? You can't do that. I want to hold Legend of Winning accountable for that, respectfully though, because Legend of Winning, he's an OG. Legend of Winning is that dude when it comes to the NBA community. But yeah, the thing about Cat not being good enough in the playoffs, though, there's something I want to address when it comes to that. Because I know y'all remember Jimmy when he was in Minnesota. He was saying, those guys in Minnesota, when he was talking about Wiggins and Cat, they don't work hard enough. They're soft, whatever the case may be. And you start to see that with Cat when he comes near adversity. Like when he's in adverse situations, he's not the same dude. Which is something I'm pretty sure most of y'all noticed, and most people would notice that. What's going on with him? Like, is he actually a soft dude or a soft player? Honestly, I don't care if he's a soft dude. That's outside of the court. We just talk about basketball. So outside of the court, I don't care if he's soft, whatever the case may be. That's on him. But it looks like he is a soft player on the court, to be honest with you. Cat ain't that same dude on the court, which it says a lot about the way the Timberwolves were trying to build around him, and they were trying to make him the guy. He's not the guy. If we're gonna be honest, Cat is great. Cat can be a second option on a championship team, but he's not the guy who's going to lead you to a deep playoff run or to a championship, a title, because he's it's not that he doesn't have the talent. It's just that he doesn't have the mindset or the mentality or the dog, honestly, which Jimmy Butler told us about 4 years ago. Jimmy, my team, he on the team, you know what I mean? Jimmy told us about this, or he tried to show us that you could have all the talent in the world, but if you don't got that work ethic, bro, you're not doing nothing. And that's what we're seeing with Cat. But here's something I want to say also. Let's not let the Grizzlies off the hook. I'm not gonna let y'all off the hook, because the thing with the Grizzlies, bro, y'all should not be struggling like this versus a 7 seed if y'all are a championship contender. The thing about that is, it's like they talk so much in the media. When they win or when they lose, they got so much to say. They got, their dogs or this or that. But it's like, it's not like y'all playing Golden State. It's not like y'all playing Phoenix. It's not like y'all playing Dallas or Utah even. Y'all playing Minnesota, who's a young team, honestly the dumbest team in the league or in the playoffs, and you're barely beating them, which is something that I don't want to. That game, the first 3 games so far should not be encouraging for the Grizzlies when it comes to the long term in the playoffs, because if y'all struggling this much with a 7 seed, bro, imagine what Golden State's gonna do to y'all. Imagine what Phoenix is gonna do to y'all. Even if Booker isn't 100% healthy, if y'all struggling with Minnesota like this, bro, y'all not gonna do nothing versus y'all not gonna do that versus Phoenix or Golden State. So I don't want to let them off the hook. And same with Ja. Ja hasn't been that same. He hasn't had that same impact he's had in the regular season. And the Grizzlies showed that, like I said yesterday, they are a good all-around team. It's not all about Ja like, the media trying to portray, but Ja hasn't had that same, it just feels like Ja hasn't had that same impact as he would in the regular season, which I'm not going to get on him yet because it's the first 3 games. This is only his second playoffs. He's a young guy still. We can't, people expect them to be in their primes right now. I'm not going to get on him too bad, but I don't want to let the Grizzlies off the hook. But the thing is, they need to chill with this overconfidence when it comes to the media. They gotta chill, bro, because it's like y'all are good. Y'all are a good team. Y'all were considered contenders when the playoffs started, but to be barely beating Minnesota and to have all this overconfidence like you're beating a good team, or you're in the conference finals, or you're in the finals. It's a first round versus the Timberwolves, bro. Y'all gotta chill. Like, I admire the confidence though. It's good to be confident. It's good to believe in your own abilities. It's good to believe that y'all dogs and y'all this and y'all that, but y'all gotta relax. It's a first round, bro. Get past the first round, get past Minnesota, and when y'all start doing something versus a great team or whatever the case may be, then you start talking. That's when you start letting it loose. But right for now, y'all gotta relax. But also, bro, I want to talk about, because so far, like yesterday, for example, I did talk about the Warriors quite a bit, but I do want to talk about the Warriors versus Nuggets, but more so from the Nuggets standpoint. And we will talk about the Warriors, because the Warriors they played, it's kind of like copy and paste at this point, the way they play. The way they played these first 3 games in the playoffs is they're playing the same way, and they're still executing, which is something to say about how good they are and how much the Nuggets cannot stop them. But excuse me. I really want to talk about Jokic and this narrative that he's an MVP. So he has to make this series competitive, and he has to win at least a game or 2 or whatever the case may be. And if you watch this game, Jokic showed why he's the reigning MVP. He showed why he might be the back-to-back MVP. Bro, this man dropped, 37, 18 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. And y'all still talking about he has to win a game or he's not the MVP. Bro, he's playing single-handedly with Bones Highland, Monte Morris, and Aaron Gordon versus Steph Curry, who's a 2-time MVP and 3-time champion. Draymond Green, who's a Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time champion. Klay Thompson, who's a 3-time champion and a top 3 shooter of all time. And Jordan Poole, who's an up-and-coming, star in this league, in which he is showing he's an up-and-coming star in this league. You can't get on Jokic for losing, especially after the game that he's had. Y'all seen him sitting on the bench gassed. He's gassed. Well, really, because the Warriors are putting him in every single action off the pick and roll and pick him up and everything of that nature. But offensively, he was doing everything. He had the little sky hooks, he had the little finishers, he had the passes, he had the rebounding, he had the defensively, he was in the passing lanes, his hands are up, he had 3 steals. Like, y'all have to chill with this Jokic MVP over analyzing Jokic and his MVP narrative, because Jokic is a legitimate MVP. He's not my MVP for this year. My MVP for this year is Giannis. And when they come out with the MVP announcement, I'm gonna get deeper into that, because my MVP personally is Giannis. But Jokic, if Jokic was to win it, it's not a fluke. If Jokic winning it last year, he showed that it wasn't a fluke. Jokic is that dude, bro. And he was killing the Warriors' small lineups. Draymond did a good job. Like, I'm gonna say that now. Draymond did a good job versus Jokic, considering how good Jokic is, but Jokic still got his. Jokic still got his 37 points. And honestly, if Draymond wasn't guarding him, he probably would have had 45 to 50. But he was doing good, against Draymond and Bielisa, and when Andrew Wiggins would get switched on him, he would post up. And that's what you're supposed to do versus a small team like the Warriors. That's what Joel Embiid would have done. That's what Giannis would do. Jokic was getting his teammates involved, and y'all know that's his scariest attribute about his game is his playmaking and/or his passing. When Jokic starts getting his teammates involved and he starts swinging the ball, he starts running the break. Jokic is scary, bro. That's the scariest thing about his game, because if he gets his teammates involved, if his teammates get going, and if Jokic is also going, bro, that's scary. That's scary. And he almost pulled it off. He almost pulled off game 3 single-handedly, even with Clay, Steph, Poole doing their thing. They combined for 80. Even with them doing their thing, Jokic still put it off. And y'all keep forgetting he's playing without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. He's playing without both of them. He don't got either one. And so this narrative that Jokic has to get one, or like, honestly, I thought Jokic would get one, and he still can get game 4. But y'all have to chill with this narrative that if he gets gentleman swept or if he gets swept, he that's gonna illegitimize his MVP, because it's not. And MVP also is a regular season award. MVP has nothing to do with the playoffs. Nothing. Zero. So to say that if he doesn't win a game that he's not the MVP or he doesn't deserve MVP or whatever the case may be, you're wrong. And honestly, you guys that do say that are creating a narrative that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Anyone who watched that game, anyone who watched that game would see that Jokic showed why he's an MVP. He didn't get the W, but he showed why he's an MVP. That shouldn't be like, y'all shouldn't go at him for that, or y'all shouldn't try to illegitimize what he's doing because he didn't beat 3 All-Stars, 4 All-Stars. Wiggins was an All-Star. Like, you can't come at him for that. You can't do that. And I think it's up to, people who actually know what they're talking about to, tell people why that's illegitimate, why that narrative is illegitimate. But also, I want to bring up Draymond's impact. Like, I was going to say we all know Draymond's impact, but a lot of people don't know Draymond's impact the way they should. And reason being is because there's a lot of casuals. They look at the box score, or they look at, certain accolades like MVP or Finals MVP, and they're like, oh no, Draymond's not that good. And his stats are 9 point. He averages 9 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. And it's like, bro, anyone who knows basketball knows that Draymond is probably the most impactful player on that team. Especially with him being, kind of sort of the default, de facto point guard. He runs that offense. He runs that defense. And it's like, if he's the leader of the offense and the defense, if he's the coach on the floor, if he's a defensive leader that he is, or whatever the case may be, he's the most impactful. Don't you think? And if you don't think Draymond's the most impactful, you think Steph is the most impactful, which I wouldn't argue with you on that, because Steph, if you argue that Steph is the most impactful player on that team, I wouldn't get mad at you. I'll be like, you okay, I can see why you would say that. But in my opinion, Draymond showed why he's so valued within that Golden State system, with getting all his guys involved. He gets Poole involved off those little screens where he hands it off and he puts his body there. He sets up that offense. And when you watch the Warriors, it's like, it's not a repetitive type, like they don't run the same plays over and over and over. It's a different play almost every possession. And Draymond is the leader of that. Draymond tells his guys where to go. He directs them on where to go. Defensively, he's the anchor. He has to guard, like I said yesterday in yesterday's episode, he's guarding someone with at least 50 pounds on him and 3 to 4 inches, bro. Like, to quantify what Draymond really brings to that team is hard to explain, because he brings so much to the table. And you've seen that when he was injured. Throughout the second half ish Because he was hurt for the All-Star game. So he was hurt for the All-Star game, and then he came back later on towards the playoffs. Yeah, we were getting close to the playoffs. And y'all seen Golden State struggle without him. You seen them struggle without Draymond because Draymond does so much for them. And Steph and Klay will tell you that. They don't do what they do. Jordan Poole doesn't do what he does without Draymond. And Draymond showed that in yesterday's game. He showed that in yesterday's game. Without him, they don't win that game for sure. But my thing about the Warriors that I'm nervous about, that I've seen some people, mention, but it's not being talked about enough, in my opinion, is that I'm nervous about the Warriors having issues when it comes to big people, like big men down the line. And for example, like in this series, Jokic is still getting his. Jokic is still doing his thing. The problem that's going on with that series with Denver is that Jokic doesn't have the requisite help to, compete with the Warriors in a series. But when you get to teams that got those big men and they also got the pieces around those big men to compete, that's where it gets kind of, scary for the Warriors. Because imagine if you play the Suns with some people might clown this, but people who know basketball know if you play the Suns with Ayton and McGee and then you got Chris Paul with the high IQ who could get those guys the ball, it's like it gets scary at that point because those guys are going to get theirs, and on top of that they got guys around them who's going to lift them up in terms of trying to overcome the Warriors. And not even and those are just that's just Ayton and McGee. Imagine if they play Giannis in the finals. Imagine if they play Giannis in the finals, bro. Giannis would kill them, even with Draymond. Even after I just got done talking about how impactful Giannis is and what he brings to the table, bro. When they play a Giannis, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna get ugly when they play Giannis. If Giannis makes the finals, I'm just saying if they were to play a team like that, because in the West there's not many teams with great big men like that, other than I'll say the Suns have a good big man squad. Like it's not necessarily just Ayton, like they have a few good big men who can do their thing against them. But I'm talking about just in case they play a team like the Bucks, because the Bucks, bro, they got the pieces around Giannis to kind of help lift them over the Warriors, and they have Giannis. Giannis is going to be super dominant versus them. So I'm not going to say that's a super huge concern, but that's something the Warriors should be looking for, or they should look out for that, because that's something that could end up biting them in the behind with, just like in terms of matchups in general, and just in terms of matchups, in terms of, what your guys can handle, because they can't handle Jokic. Like I said, Jokic is only really losing because he doesn't have the help. But if they play the Giannis, they got to be careful, bro. They got to be careful. They definitely got to watch out for that. But yeah, the Nuggets are going to get swept, or gentlemen swept. They're going to lose 4-0 or 4-1. But come next year, this series honestly gives you the confidence to know that the Nuggets might be, when they're healthy, the Nuggets are going to be really good. They're going to be really formidable. And also, I wanted to point out that a lot of people aren't really pointing out is that I appreciate like the Nuggets playing that kind of grit and grind type of game yesterday. Because we haven't seen that since, Memphis with Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol and Mike Conley and those boys and Tony Allen. We haven't seen that in a while, bro. So I kind of miss seeing that type of basketball, and seeing Denver play that type of basketball, playing that type of grit and grind mentality, which was working against a small team like Golden State. It's much appreciated from a real huge basketball guy. Boogie Cousins, he didn't do much. He had 9 points, but if you watch the game, when his minutes were very impactful because he would help keep them in the game when Jokic will go sit down and get his breather. So I like the fact that they played that type of game versus Golden State. They took it back, a little throwback type of play. But it ends up not being enough. They just don't have enough. They can't compete with that Golden State team with especially having their two guys out with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. But bro, I want to get into I'm gonna give y'all some news. Remember how yesterday I was talking about Chris Middleton and Devin Booker and their injuries, and we got some updates to that. And I'm going to give y'all that. Middleton is to miss the rest of the first round with the MCL sprain in his left knee, and he will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. And Booker could miss 2 to 3 weeks with grade 1 right hamstring sprain. And like I told y'all yesterday, those injuries are for example, the thing with the Middleton injury is that his is going to play more of a short term. His is going to have more of a short term impact, and Booker's is going to have more of a long term impact. When it comes to Middleton's injury, the Bucks aren't playing scrubs in the first round, bro. The Bucks are playing a pretty good Bulls team, which honestly, the Bulls have been competing way more than I thought they would. So when it comes to Middleton being out versus the Bulls, it kind of evens things out because they don't have Lonzo. So we're gonna see. What I'm looking for really is Jrue Holiday and how he's gonna make. What impact is he gonna have offensively? Because we know Jrue impacts defensive impact. We know Jrue Holiday's playmaking impact. I'm talking about in terms of pure scoring, honestly. What is Jrue Holiday going to do as a scorer with Middleton being out, and when Giannis needs help? What if Giannis is off that game? What are the Bucks going to do? And they could do it by committee, because the Bucks do have, we forget, they have Bobby Portis, you have Brook Lopez, you have Holiday. So it's not like Grayson Allen, he's a guy, but that's not as impactful when you get to the playoffs. The playoffs, when it slows down, you need those stars to show up. And Golden State actually showed that yesterday. Their stars showed up yesterday when it comes to the way they played. And that's something that Holiday's going to have to prove is what can you do when the lights are turned on and they need you offensively as a scorer, as a pure scorer. That's what I'm gonna be looking for with the Bucks playing the Bulls, bro. Because the Bulls, they got LaVine, they got DeMar DeRozan, they got two guys that when push comes to shove, you can get them the ball and they're gonna get you a bucket. And the thing about LaVine, he hasn't had that great of a great playoff. Like the first two games in Milwaukee, he hasn't played great yet. But I believe in LaVine. I believe in Zach LaVine that he's going to end up turning that around. He's going to end up, getting them what they need out of him. And that's a scary thing for the Bucks. And also the Bulls got home court advantage now. Y'all lost game 2. And the Bulls got home court advantage. Going back to Chicago, y'all gotta this is going to be tough. This is going to be a tougher series than I originally thought. I thought the Bucks were going to gentlemen sweep the Bulls 4-1, especially with Zoe being out. But now that Middleton's out, this is going to be a close series, bro. This is going 6 or 7. Honestly, based off what we're looking at, it looks like it's going 7. Especially, bro, if the Bulls could end up pulling out 2 on their home court, if they could defend the United Center, bro, with 2 games, this series is gonna I'm telling y'all, it's gonna be a little bit more interesting than we thought originally. And I can't wait to see game 3 today. Game 3 is gonna be big for me. But like I said, Holiday has to step up, and we're gonna see what the Bulls are made of. you know, coming up, you know, game 3, and game 4. But I also want to talk about Booker, Devin Booker's injury, and his is less of a has less short-term implications, and his has more long-term implications, in my opinion. I'm pretty confident that the Suns can still pull out from the Pelicans in the first round. You know, especially considering the type of season they had, and they had a couple injuries, and they were still able to be, you know, the team that they were. And the Pelicans were originally a 9th seed, and I'm not gonna discredit them making the playoffs, because the play-in is a thing now, and the play-in they won their 2 games in the play-in to get into the playoffs. But I'm not really confident that the Pelicans could continue what they did in game 2, and I'm also very confident that the Suns can continue what they did in the regular season, and they'll be able to, you know, pull away from the Pelicans in the series, and they're gonna win. I still believe the Suns take this series in 5, at the most 6, maybe 6, but I doubt 6. They're gonna take it in 5. And the reason I have such belief in the Suns is, one, Monty Williams. Monty Williams, bro, he's a top 5 coach in this league, and he's proven that. Most likely going to be coach of the year, back-to-back coach of the year, which he deserves. Chris Paul, you know, CP3, you would be an idiot not to put your belief in CP3, especially considering the ball handling, the defense, the IQ, the leadership. And the ball, what's scary about that is the ball's going to be in his hands even more after Devin Booker's injury. So you can't put nothing past Chris Paul, because Chris Paul, he is that dude. Also, with the depth of the Suns, usually in the playoffs, like I said like 10 minutes ago, when it comes to like the Bucks and their depth, I believe in the Suns' depth a little bit more. Especially after their experience in that finals run last year, their experience being the first seed this year, being the best team in the West this year, and you know, they got guys who can. It's when it comes to depth, because usually playoffs are about the stars. But they have guys on the with the bench unit. They have the role players that can end up stepping up in those when the lights are turned on. You know. So I believe in the Suns, you know, role players a lot more than I believe in most teams' role players. So I believe when it comes to the Suns' depth, even without Book, they're going to pull out this series. There's not really something either Suns fans or honestly anyone in that matter that should be worried about. But here's the thing about that, though. The Suns should be worried about later on in the playoffs, because you gotta think, round 2 they're most likely going to play Dallas, and y'all see Dallas how they're doing even without their all NBA player. If they play a Dallas team with Luka and they don't got Book, because it says he's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks at least, if they don't have Book going into, you know, playing Dallas, that's going to be scary for them, because you know, Dallas's role players are flourishing right now. And you know, if you throw Luka into that mix, it's not as simple as it sounds, but you throw Luka into the mix with those role players, if the role players could continue doing what they're doing with Luka, you know, doing what he does, that's gonna end up being scary for the Suns without Book. That can end up turning into an upset that honestly is probably going to happen, in my opinion. If Book doesn't come back and Luka does come back and he can be Luka, and you know, Dallas can keep doing what they're doing, I would favor Dallas. I would favor Dallas in that series. Also, even if they end up getting past Dallas and they end up getting Book back, Book is not going to be 100% coming back. He's not going to be 100% for the rest of this year. With a right hamstring sprain and playoff time, this is a worse time to have a problem with the hamstring. And Chris Paul, his teammate, will tell you that this is the worst time to have hamstring issues, because y'all remember him having those issues and, you know, with the Clippers and with Houston in 2018, him, you know, missing half of game 6 and missing game 7 because of a hamstring issue. So with Booker having that hamstring issue, it gets a little scary, bro. It gets a little scary. Even if he comes back, even if Book comes back, would you really favor Phoenix over Golden State, especially with the way Golden State's playing? And Golden State's playing a better team than Phoenix is playing. Golden State is playing a Nuggets team with a reigning MVP and potentially a 2-time MVP. And they're being dominant. They're dominating them. And Phoenix lost game 2 versus the Pelicans, which I'm not going to put too much into, but it's worth a mention. And not having their best player, arguably their second best player, whatever you feel about Chris Paul and Devin Booker, him not being there, or even him being there and not being healthy is concerning. That should be very concerning for the Suns, bro. If he's not there again, like I said, if he's not there versus Dallas, I favor Dallas. He's most likely not going to be there versus Dallas. If he's not there versus Golden State, well, he most likely will, because they said 2 to 3 weeks. There isn't really a timetable, but he could miss at least 2 to 3 weeks. So if he's not there versus Golden State, they're definitely not beating Golden State. If he's there but he's hurt, they could beat Golden State, but it's not like set in stone at all. Honestly, you would favor Golden State at that point. Or even if they play Memphis, I'm forgetting about Memphis, which Memphis are showing that they may not be contenders yet. But if they play Memphis, that's still scary without Book, because it's like you got to match up. You got a 37, 38-year-old Chris Paul matching up with a young Ja Morant, a young Desmond Bane, a young DeAnthony Melton. Like, that's scary. A young Dylan Brooks. Like, that's still scary for the Suns, if I'm going to be honest with you. So, they got to hopefully that training staff with Phoenix could get him back, at least 85, 90%. Hopefully they can get him back to that. But yeah, man, the Suns should be concerned when it comes to that. But we're towards the end of the podcast, of this podcast episode. It's episode 4, which I'm so excited to be giving y'all boys, especially during playoff time. This is a perfect time to, start giving all this content. But we're towards the end of episode 4, and I'm going to give y'all my predictions for today. The Heat play the Hawks, game 3, and bro, like, y'all know I'm a Heat fan, but I'm going to try to chill with my bias. So when it comes to us playing the Heat, when it comes to us playing the Hawks, bro, I'm gonna take away all my bias, and I'm gonna say the Heat win game 3. The Heat still win game 3. Reason being is I think this game will be close. This game will be close with the Hawks being back home. Their morale is going to be turned up. The fans going to be turned up. Hopefully, Hawks fans aren't the best, but hopefully Hawks fans, they show up and they turn up in that game. I do think the game's going to be close. I do think Trey has a good game. I feel like Trey is going to have a really good game this game. But I don't think it's going to be enough due to Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero's, I think he's also going to have a big game. Games 1 and 2 were pretty underwhelming for Tyler, which, you can't really say much about because the Heat won and we won pretty convincingly in games 1 and 2. But I believe in game 3, he's gonna blow up. He's gonna be in that hostile environment. He's gonna turn up because that's Tyler's environment. That's Tyler's climate. That's what he likes to be in. So I expect Tyler to have a 23 to 28 point game. He's gonna have a 23 to 28 point game. I believe we continue playing that good team defense. I feel like we're gonna let Trey do his thing a little bit, but we're gonna play. We're gonna stop Bogdanovich. We're gonna stop. Hunter, all those guys like that. Gallinari. We're gonna put a stop to them. Kevin Huerter also. I believe they're gonna be a little bit more efficient in this game, but we're gonna see. I got the Heat taken today. And the Heat also go up 3-0. So I got us going up 3-1 versus the Hawks. When it comes to game 3 with Chicago versus the Bucks, Excuse me. I told y'all what it would be. Like, the implications are, I told y'all what the implications kind of are with Middleton being out, but I didn't tell y'all what I thought was going to happen in game 3. But I did tell y'all it's going to be competitive, but I got the Bulls taken today. I got the Bulls blitzing the Bucks, and they're going to steal another game without Middleton, bro. It's the first game without Middleton. They're back at home. They're gonna ride that wave of what happened with game 2. I got DeMar. He's gonna have another good game. He's gonna have another big performance. I believe he's gonna drop at least a 30 piece. DeMar's gonna show up today. I also got LaVine. He's gonna be pivotal when it comes to the fourth quarter. Because DeMar had a good game 2. He's gonna have a good game 3. I believe he's gonna be a little bit more gassed, especially with the Bucks. Having to get around the Bucks and, them actually looking for Giannis so they don't have to deal with his help defense, which is crazy. It's not crazy in a bad way, but it's crazy in terms of that you have to look for Giannis to be a one-on-one defender because you don't want to deal with his help defense. But yeah, man, I got the Bulls taking today. And Zach LaVine being pivotal in clutch time because DeMar's going to be tired. DeMar's going to be gassed. So I think LaVine's going to be really big in the fourth quarter. And they're going to end up taking it. So the Bulls, they ride out game 2. They ride that momentum into game 3. Without Middleton playing, being at home, I got the Bulls taking game 3. Suns versus Pelicans. They're going to come out with crazy energy. Especially after losing Book and after losing game 2, they're going to be a little angry. They're going to have a little bit more edge. They're not going to, let off as much as they did in game 2. So I'm tripping. But I got the Suns. Bro. They're going to come out and they're going to win today. They're going to come out with that energy after losing Book and, Chris Paul's going to be handling the ball a little bit more. I expect him to handle the ball a little bit more after Book not being there. And he's going to take advantage of, he's going to take advantage of the situation, especially in terms of sheer volume. I expect CP3 to have at least 25 and 8 today. And it's going to be a signature game being back in New Orleans, a place where he had a great career. He could have been an MVP in New Orleans. So, being back in New Orleans, losing Book, losing game 2, there's going to be a big game for Chris Paul. And Chris Paul's going to, he's going to do it. He's going to take game 3. It sounds like going to be up 2-1. Honestly, if you want me to be honest, they probably take game 4 too. But we're talking about game 3. I got the Suns winning game 3, going up 2-1. So my predictions: Heat go up 3-0 today. Bulls go up 2-1 today, and the Suns go up 2-1 today. But yeah, man, that's all I got for y'all today. This was the Hoop Objective podcast. Look for me every day. Whatever whatever platform you're listening to me on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, whatever the case might be, Spotify, wherever you're listening to me from. Go ahead and support, like it, subscribe, whatever you gotta do. And I'm gonna be doing this every day. It's gonna be a grind, and this is gonna be a grind up to the top, man. We're gonna be the top basketball. We're gonna be the top hoops podcast by, I'll say, within the next year or 2. So, and I'm super confident about that. So, y'all look out. Like I said, y'all look out for the series where I'm gonna give y'all a breakdown of each team that loses or gets eliminated and things of that nature. And I'm gonna be back here tomorrow. We're gonna be episode 5 tomorrow. So y'all show up. But yeah, man, this is your boy Armani, and I'm out. Peace.